Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, and that means it's time for the After SmackDown Wrestling Inc. after show. And have we got a show for you? We've got LA Knight showing up on SmackDown. We've got Cody Rhodes showing up on SmackDown. And we've also got a bunch of incredibly touching moments we're going to get into. But before we get into all of that, allow me to introduce to you the dynamic duo who's been holding it down this week on Wrestling Inc. I'm Jack Farmer, and I'm being joined by NYC Demon Diva, my new bestie, Issa. How are you?
I am. I'll be lying if I tell you I'm not emotional. Having a hard time with this one. We'll get into it as the night goes on, and it's a very rare side of me for people to see. But as we go on, we'll talk more about it. But Bray is like top 5 all-time favorites for me, and I'm going through a weird grieving process that I don't know how to comprehend. But I'm really happy to be here with you. I know we're gonna have a kick-ass show, and I'm excited to be here with the chat. I know you're gonna be pulling up chats from everybody, and I'm excited for everybody to share their favorite, not just Bray, also Terry Funk, memories and moments. But I feel like the best way to grieve through this is for all of us to talk about it together, because we're in this bubble together. We get it, and we know how great he was and why we're suffering his loss.
Yeah, and something I said on Twitter, if anyone who didn't see it today, I'm going to be bringing up all sorts of chats today. So if you have something you want to say, definitely this is the day to be in the chat. You don't have to even worry about the super chats. I mean, if you want to give us a super chat, I'm not gonna say no. But just so you know, today is going to be all about just sharing different memories and things of Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, all that good stuff. We're going to be very interactive with you guys. It means it might be kind of hard for me to keep track of who goes where. So I would just try to keep things to what we're talking about. So that means so we don't jump around too much. We're going to talk about the big news. Obviously, Bray Wyatt, Terry Funk. That's going to be the bulk of today's show. But while we wait for everyone to get in and sort of settle into their seats, as I always like to say, we start with news. And this is just news that's a little bit fun. I'm trying to keep it light here. Tony Khan was speaking to the Hollywood Reporter and he was asked about whether or not the company was profitable. And he said that he said, quote, "We have a valuation of, well, people have approached me with billion-dollar offers. So the business has grown. I'm not turning over huge cash profits, but as we approach the new media rights renewal, that is really the key, not only to weekly profitability and cash flow, but also another large multiplier on top of the business valuation." Later said he wasn't interested in selling. Issa, thoughts on Tony Khan? Is this him just sort of trying to talk the game, or do you think that people
Oh no,
really
1000% he's talking the game. That is like the first thing I thought when you gave me that answer is like, oh, he's in the hole. And that's coming from somebody who worked at corporate. I was a VP of operations for a big CEO in New York City, right? And I will never forget I was the person analyzing the profit and loss sheet for our company. I ran a small company for this guy who had all kinds of companies, and I'll never forget when we had to have the financial meetings with him, and how I would try my best to twist the words into not saying, oh, we're in the negative. I would always say, oh, we're going to be making some money when this person and this person signed that contract. So you don't have to worry about nothing. What you just gave me is literally just gave me PTSD to my corporate days, because that is exactly how you respond when somebody says, hey, are you guys making money?
it does feel a little look, and I'm not making fun of Tony. I'm not even that's the right thing. I don't know what his financial
Oh no,
situation
he knows
is,
how
but
to play the game. He's selling the interest in that company. That's what you need to do.
yeah, you can't, even if he's losing crazy amounts of money, he can't come out and be like, "Oh, we're losing money." I mean, you look at a bunch of companies like Spotify and Netflix and a lot of these companies, they lose money for like decades before they turn a profit, but they're still saying, "We're worth billions of dollars. We're worth tons of money." That's what you're
Even
supposed to
a
do.
small business that's not at the scale of what Tony Khan is running right now, even a small business, if you look at the timeline that they give you, it's like 2 years before you even see your first cent. If you
Mhm.
start, putting into account, you start your own business, and before you become profitable, they always tell you you're gonna have to wait a minimum of 2 years before you actually start seeing some ROI. And of course, they're older than 2 years, but we did hear from him recently, not recently, I feel like a year ago when we talked about the finances of the company, that they were in the negative due to the video game. The video game is now out. But we have seen a slowdown in the ticket sales, at least in the States. I do think that Wembley is going to make a big difference for them in what they're taking in. But it also, you have to take into consideration how much it's going to cost them to run Wembley, and what is exactly going to be the net profit of this show. And now I sound like I used to work corporate and I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, you sound like Raj. I feel like I'm talking to Raj. I miss Raj, but it's all stuff that you're right. I personally, like, I'm self-employed, and that was when I first left my day-to-day job. I was like, finally, I get to do things myself. And then it's like, okay, well, you got to buy this, you got to buy this. There's marketing, there's equipment, there's things like that. And oh, by the way, you still got to pay rent while you're doing all
Oh
this.
yeah, and kids having a life goodbye, because I am now
Yes.
self-employed and I'm very happy about what I get to do. But my time management, which I used to be so organized, my time management is, I sorry for my French, but it's ass right now. I can't keep track of what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. It's a part of, it comes with the territory. But I'm sure you're happy too, so that's also
Well,
fun.
well, I always say I think I'd be a terrible employee now that I've run my own life for a while. I mean, I run it terribly like you. I have no free time, but at the same time, if someone said I need to be in the office by a certain time, that would be very hard for me to deal with
Sometimes
now.
I'm like, that's when I go to bed, bro. Like, you want me to wake up at what time? That's when we're going to sleep.
Right. There's definitely pros and cons to it. But like we said, if someone asked me what my business is worth, of course I'm going to tell them this big inflated number
Correct.
and all this other
Correct.
stuff.
The one thing that we know that Tony Khan is a businessman. He's run multiple business outside of AEW. I know he's gonna know how to answer that question and making it sound extremely appealing without telling you the company's still losing money.
Yes. So as we get started, let's get into this show and let's talk about this. But before we do, as always, I want to give a shout out to all the buzzards in the chat tonight. We got John1111, MDB999, Bip Milligan, Jason in the chat, Ethan Cruz, Chris, Tommy O, Max Feldman, Ken Kreider, No Bueno crew. Haven't seen you in a few weeks. Good to see you, or at least you haven't chatted on any of the shows I'm on. J.R. Smith, Casey J, Killer a Demon, 669, Randy Diaz, a bunch of you. George, I saw you there. Beer Money as well. Jennifer, Ricky as well. A lot of you smart. You post right as I start the roll call, so you know I'm gonna shout you out. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, I'm gonna try to get to as many chats as you guys can throw at us today. We got we got DJ Eviev saying, "Gotta love Jack being the host. Makes all our comments feel important." That's exactly what we're gonna do today. Issa, I want to start with the top of the show, and this is what most of the comments have been so far. I've been starring a few of them. We start the show, 10 bell salute, everyone on the stage, even Rowan was out there. And we get video packages that are just beautifully done. I held it together through most of it, I'll be honest. But then when I saw the sign that says he still has the whole world in his hands, I was like, oh, it got me. It totally got me. WWE is so good at these kind of things, and it's almost a shame to say that because it's such a sad thing, but they do these so well. What were your thoughts watching this opening part of the show?
I feel very proud of you because it sounds like you kept it together for a lot longer than me. As I shared at the beginning of the show, Bray is one of my favorites, and I struggled today with, and I know I saw a lot of people talking about it on social media, like, should I feel this distraught over someone that I didn't really know or wasn't family? Like, you know, you're grieving someone that you didn't know, but I watched a lot of Bray Wyatt things today, and I got emotional watching that so that I could go live on my watch along and kind of keep it together. I couldn't, and I tell you, the part that broke me into tears was when they show the Firefly Funhouse in the video, in the middle of the video package, and you see smiley sweater Bray saying "Welcome to the Firefly Funhouse." I'll just never forget how innovative that felt to me the first time that I saw a Firefly Funhouse and seeing Bray so happy. And that first episode didn't show any signs of darkness, and how you saw that character just evolving to the Fiend. Like, that is just going to be something that it will live with me forever. And I I love that. I love the Fiend. I love Firefly Funhouse, but I love all versions of Bray. So when they show him saying "Welcome to the Firefly Funhouse" was when I personally lost it. And I was doing a watch along, and there was like probably not a dry tear, eye in the chat. It's very hard to like get people to understand. I feel like I can't think of a celebrity that, like, I think Kobe hit me very hard. He was my favorite basketball player, and I played basketball in high school, so I looked up to him. But I can't tell you that I've had one hit me the way that this one is hitting me. And I don't know if anybody in the chat can relate. I can't understand what I'm going through. I keep going through this process of watching it and enjoying, like trying to do the smile because it happened. But the second that I think that we're not gonna see anything else from Bray Wyatt in the future, that's when I get choked up. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost
Yeah.
like he's on a break. He's dealing with an illness. He'll be back. That's what we all knew up to this point. And I even remember a report not too long ago saying that he was making progress towards getting better. Like, this is just not, and we don't want this for anybody, right? But it's just not what anybody expected to be talking about. And again, I just can't get to the point of the fact that we know we're not going to see anything else from him on TV anymore. It just doesn't seem real to me.
It's something that I thought Ethan Cruz here in the chat, I wanted to pull his out, says, someone we didn't know, no way. He was really glad to be our friend. That is a friendship that will never end, never,
I
ever end.
I did had the most amazing interaction with Bray, and that's the picture that I chose to share because this wasn't an interview. This wasn't anything of what we do. I got a chance to meet Bray at WrestleCon in Dallas, and I was running around all over WrestleCon looking for him because I arrived a little bit later, and I thought that I had missed. He had a signing, but it was like specific hours, and I found him, and I was like, "Oh my god, I found you!" I was like, "You're the only reason why I'm here." And he was like, "It's okay." But then me and him just started talking, and we had like a 10-minute conversation about horror movies. This wasn't about Bray. This wasn't about, because this is what he was being rumored to be filming something, right? And I was like, "Well, what are you filming? It's a classic slasher. Or are you going into that BS modern horror?" And then he started giving me like this lesson about how modern horror can still work like the classic horror. And I'm a big horror movie fan, which would also click why I love Bray so much.
That
But we
checks
went
out.
and had this crazy conversation for like almost 10 minutes just about horror movies. And I was just so impressed by the way that he treated me and the way that he was talking to me. Like, he's known me his whole life, and I'm one of his friends that he talks scary movies with. The thing that will forever sit with me is this is before his return. And of course, I take the picture. And as a fan, I'm not wrestling in non lucha libre line. As a Bray Wyatt fan, I said, "You have to come back, right?" And he said to me, he's like, "It feels like I should. I don't think that that's how my story with WWE should finish." So when I think about that conversation and how we ended the conversation, all I can think is at least he got to come back, and we got to see him have that incredible combat at Extreme Rules. But at that time, I left WrestleCon thinking, "Oh, Bray's coming home." Like, I know a lot of people were speculating maybe AEW would pick him up, this and that. I knew for certain at that time that Bray would come back. If he came back to wrestling, it would be with WWE, and I'm glad that he got a better ending to his story with WWE than where we were at a year and something ago with his story.
And it makes that promo when he came back so powerful too. That one
Right.
where he was talking about how he was going through stuff and how thankful he was to be able to come back. And I do want to say about us not knowing him. I think the thing with wrestler deaths, and a lot of people are talking about some of the ones that hit them, like Eddie Guerrero in the past, is even if you've never met these people, they're people who we let into our lives every single week, and we cheer for them. And whether they're characters or who they are, they're people we cheer for. They're people that we embrace. They're people we boo, and we go through these big emotional roller coasters every single week with them. And so maybe we don't know them, but there's something about them that is a part of us. And so when we lose them, it does hurt. It does feel like we lose something personal. And so I don't think anyone should feel bad if this is something that has really hurt them or really affected them, or if they do feel really sad, because it is.
I saw a couple of comments and a couple of people saying like, "Why are you crying over somebody you never met or this or that?" And I'm like, it's so much more than that. And there's a reason why I'm glad that we're here tonight talking about it. There is a reason why I decided to try to keep it together and go live. It was to give wrestling fans a platform to get together in a chat and talk about it, because a lot of times I feel like maybe the outside world is not going to get us on this one, but I feel like people that are hardcore wrestling fans the way that we are, like you said, we let them in, no pun intended. We let them in every week. I feel like I needed to create something where people could just come together and go through their emotions, you know. But I feel like a lot of times I saw some comments and they kind of got to me. But again, I'm very vulnerable. I don't know how to behave right now. Like I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm going through. And I still, believe it or not, don't feel like it's something for me. Like it's a weird grieving process. When I got the text message from a friend, it was a screenshot of the Triple H tweet. I thought it was a fake screenshot. I was like, this is a hoax. I immediately opened X and looked up Triple H so that I could see it from myself because I was just not buying the screenshot that I had just read. Like the whole thing, I don't know. I don't know. I love Bray. I would always love Bray. And he's actually, fun fact, my mom's favorite. If you don't know where I get my wrestling passion from, where my mom loves wrestling, maybe more than me. And she loves Bray. So believe it or not, my first instinct after I found out the news was to call her because I didn't want her to find out uh through social media, because then she would have been like, isn't this what you do for a living? And you couldn't tell me. I could already hear her yelling at me. But yeah, it was called my mom. My mom, 68 years old, loves Bray. If that doesn't tell you how many people Bray and the range of people that he connected with, like that's crazy to me.
J.R. Smith, and actually, I want to say Fat Matt first. Sorry, J.R. Smith. Fat Matt had an actual super chat. Says, I ran out of Kleenex 30 minutes in. Rest in peace, Funk you and Bray. I would say Bray Wyatt, when he first debuted with the Eater of Worlds thing on the main roster, and there were those video packages were showing up. And at that time, I wasn't really following NXT as much at that point. So like, this was a new character to me when he came up to the main roster. And these video packages started debuting. And I love showing wrestling to people who don't watch wrestling, say, what do you think of this? And when I started seeing these, like, I have never been more excited to be like, look at this. What is this? This is so crazy and different. And they're like, he's a wrestler? He's going to, like, who's he? Like, and people would get into it and interested in it because, you know, us wrestling fans, sometimes we get in this like tunnel, focus, and we're like, this is what wrestling's supposed to look like, or maybe we'll like things that don't really make sense because we get wrestling or whatever. And so I like to show it to people who don't know. And even they were like, what is this? Looks like a movie. Who is this? What is this thing? And I knew right then he was going to be such a big creative force.
And a difference influence, right? I share also a story of my watch along today about how I had that corporate job we were just talking about. So when Crown Jewel aired, as you know, it was on a Thursday during the day. So I'm sitting in my nice office and I have Crown Jewel on the TV in the lobby. And I remember one of my coworkers who never watches wrestling. This is the Fiend against Seth Rollins, right? He never watches wrestling. I'm so into this. They're like, you're not even in your office. You're sitting in the lobby watching this. And so the guy looks at me. He's a higher up. I believe he was a COO. And he goes, so we're rooting for this guy, right? He points at Seth. And I'm like, no, we're rooting for the Fiend. And he's like, wait, you're rooting for the Demon? And I'm like, he's like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to root for that guy? He looks evil. And I'm like, it's a wrestling thing. You wouldn't understand. We want the Demon guy to win, okay?
You wouldn't. It's like that Joker meme where it's like, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah, right. If it literally, I wanted to walk away and be like, you wouldn't understand. But at the end of the day, we want that scary looking guy to win. His face was so priceless. He was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, it makes sense to me, okay?
J.R. Smith here with the chat. I got back to you, J.R. Says, hello, Jack and Issa. Tonight was incredibly sad. I ended the show in tears. Mad respect for all wrestling promotions to slow the show and recognize the magnitude of the losses this week. It just always, just going back to that opening thing. I want to give the crowd their flowers too. The way they were singing, he's got the whole world in his hands, just the right amount. I think like they even understood the moment, and they were quiet when they needed to be quiet. They sang when they should sing. It was just the
fireflies, the lights, the buzzers were on full force.
And the fact that they had Rowan out there, I thought was just very touching and very cool of them to do.
Him and Strowman, like when I saw them, it was heartbreaking.
Shout out stalking you with the dog emoji. Always getting those. Speaking of the dog emoji, this, I'll be honest, it hit, as you know, and some people know, my dog passed away recently. And ever since then, I've definitely been more like in tune, I guess, with the idea of loss and things like that. And so hearing this stuff, it emotionally hit me pretty hard too. Just like, wow, this is someone we're never going to see again. And one of the things about Bray that always stuck me, and I said this on Twitter, but everyone talks about how creative he was, but I think the thing that really separated him from everyone else is not only did he have this great imagination, but he sort of forced us, the viewers, to have a better imagination, because you couldn't put him in the box and say, well, he's going to do this and he's going to have the match at the pay-per-view and that's going to lead to, like, he was so different that whenever he did something and you'd see like whatever, like the let me in, you'd be like, well, what does that mean? What's like, and you have to use your own imagination. And the way he got into our brains, I think, is something that separates him from anybody.
Yes, I 1000% agree with you. I share with you like when I started really watching, and I remember going back to watch some of the Wyatt family debuted and all that, because I wasn't watching them, but I started watching shortly after. It was late 2013, early 2014 when I really got back into WWE wrestling. But soon after that, he did that Anyone But You Roman feud, which I absolutely love, which culminated in their amazing Hell in a Cell match. That's a must watch for me, for anybody looking for Bray Wyatt matches to watch right now. And he was cutting off the eyes and the mouth from Roman Reigns, and I remember seeing that, and that's when I went back and watched everything I could watch from the Wyatt family that I have missed up to that point, because he captivated it. But when I had that moment that you said that he's gonna make you think outside of the box, is again the Firefly Funhouse. I'll just never forget when the first time I saw that pop up, and me thinking, what are we watching? What is this? And I couldn't help, even though there was no teeth of anything dark, to think this is gonna lead to something bad. Like I was like, this is a bad idea. This is gonna lead to something bad. And I'll never forget seeing around social media, people is like, WTF, what is this? What are we watching? This and that. And I was the one thinking, let it play out. I have a feeling this is going to be one of the greatest things that we see. And whether you smile or frown a little bit on how the Fiend was handled later on, from the debut of the Firefly Funhouse to the first time he showed up on Raw, attack Finn Balor, to that entrance at SummerSlam, like the fact that he can go from the cult leader, and we're all thinking like, oh, Bray's never going to be better than that, and completely reinvent himself to this, a complete different character, and he got it over. Like Bray, yeah, he will make you think outside of the box to the point that you're rooting for the Fiend, who's supposed to be a super evil character. We found ourselves rooting for him. How?
It was absolutely incredible. And Benjamin Maximus Blessman Jr. says, Bray Wyatt tribute on SmackDown had me in tears. Seeing Zelina crying and Rowan and Braun Strowman, I shed some tears. Max Feldman also says, I can't comprehend Funk and Bray back to back. The Bray, the last time the wrestling world was shocked was the passing of Eddie. That was also very, very sad, obviously. And Chris Evans saying, the scene with him brushing his little girl's hair crushed me. It does remind, like the scene at the end where they have the rocking chair and the light that just closes in on it that was absolutely heartbreaking to watch that. And something about Bray that I think will stand out as well to me is I used to work for a company called AfterBuzz TV. They don't cover wrestling anymore, but my buddy Flobo, who it sounds like he's going to be joining us in the future. I'll tease that later. And Evan Mack, who went on to go be a part of the bump for WWE. It was before we all really got going, and we would talk about wrestling on this show. And we would talk about it for an hour, much like we do here. But then I remember we'd be in this dumpy little studio in North Hollywood. And afterwards, we'd spend like an hour and a half afterwards, like, well, so wait, if this is the fun house, and we would just keep like trying to pick it apart. Well, what if it's this? And we were just, our brains were just going all over the place with what this could be. And it was like, that's really one of the magic of wrestling, is that it got us talking like I was back in school with my buddies after the Attitude Era or something. Go, well, what about this? Let's talk about that, and who's going to be involved? What does this mean? What's the inside? And again, I know we can all have our opinions about how things went that were out of everyone's control, but it's just this guy and this character, I think, was incredible. KCJ, by the way, AfterBuzz fan. Hey, shout out KCJ.
I liked AfterBuzz a lot. I actually found you in the wrestling part because I'm a reality TV show junkie. So AfterBuzz showed up in my recommended because of their Big Brother and Survivor coverage. And then I remember watching one of those, and then all of a sudden I see a wrestling one pop up, and I was like, I had no idea that AfterBuzz even covered any kind of wrestling. But yeah, former AfterBuzz viewer myself.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I wish we had more of you. Maybe it's still be doing it. I think it was the pandemic is what eventually closed them
The
down. Though.
pandemic killed a lot of things for a lot of people.
But it's why I came here. That's because AfterBuzz closed down. So that's got me talking to Raj. But Ricky Zaldivar, I remember, Jack, you went live after Raw. I was one of the Raw guys, and Casey J saying Johnny Quasto. I get to work with Johnny at a few things now as well. So we are still in contact. But like I said, I want to keep some of these going. James Curtis mentioned the chair and the light. Also said there was an immense amount of love poured into this episode from all sides. You really could tell everyone is. We'll go through everything, but you absolutely could tell that everyone felt like they wanted to do right this episode.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, you can see the people of, like, the faces of people when they show Braun and Rowan, you could just see that they were just distraught, and you just feel so much hurt for them, especially Rowan, especially Braun. He's one of, I believe he's Bray's son, godparent. It's just crazy to think we just deal with the loss of Brody, and you think of the Wyatt family specifically, which is a lot of people love that version of Bray, and just to think that we lost two of the originals and the greatest, like, it's just, life is too short, guys. So hug your loved ones, call someone, tell them you love them. We love all of you guys watching us and supporting. Just make sure that you're spreading the love, because everything can be taken away from you so soon, and this moment should help you reflect on that as well.
George says, whatever WWE pays those employees that do all the hard work, they deserve a raise.
Whoever put those video packages together tonight, especially that tribute for both Terry Funk and Bray, man, that was so well put together. And you have people that have so much content. Like, Bray gave us so many moments, so much content. How do you sit there and take all of that and decide to edit it into a video package? It was brilliant, the work that they did tonight. Yes, they deserve a raise.
I want to give a shout out to Michael Cole, by the way, who had to be the opener after the 10-bell salute and explain, or I think before the 10-bell salute. But so his balance of being professional and clear and adding weight, but adding empathy. Mm-hmm. Like, Michael Cole, he's starting to get his flowers now.
He's one of the greatest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a long time where I think he got flack because he went through some tough periods, I think, where he was trying to be like the heel and like he was trying to follow up after Jim Ross. And so those are big shoes to fill. But Michael Cole really is one of the best.
He is. I love and respect what Michael Cole does. And again, as somebody that went back and watched a lot of Bray moments since yesterday and today, a lot of these big moments were called by Michael Cole. Mm-hmm. Michael Cole was, the Bray Wyatt era has been the Michael Cole era. So if you go back and listen to all of these humongous moments that Bray had, even from the what the hell was that after the first Firefly Funhouse, it's all Michael Cole. And he has to keep that level of professionalism and keep that straight face. And you can't help but to wonder, he's got to be feeling it too. He's got to be feeling it too. And the way that they have to put their emotions aside and give us a show is crazy to me, and respect to all of them.
Yeah. Majestic Marie says, long time no see, Jack. Hi, Issa baby. My dad and I saw one of Bray's last matches at SmackDown in February. Chilling, nothing but love to his family and Terry Funks. Majestic Marie, good to see you again, by the way. And Huffman Elite Training with the super chat says, back in February, my family and I went to WWE House Show here in Pensacola, Florida. Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight Lights Out rematch was great. I have pics and vids.
Going back, I went to the Royal Rumble. That's where he had that televised wise. That was his last match as well. The pitch black with LA Knight.
It's one of those things where, again, I always say, if you get the chance to see someone live, go see them. You never know. And when it's your last chance, you're going to get to see them. And it's, I mean, you try to be positive, like you said at the beginning, about happy that we got to see it, happy we got to live through it. I do think that this is going to be one of those things. I'm going to be very old. This is very wrestling historian of me, but it reminds me a bit of Magnum TA, who was a guy who was up and coming. He was going to be the next big thing, and his career was cut short. And there's always been a what if about him. And I think that there's always going to be that about Bray Wyatt. What if he kept going? What if he was able to do these other things? But for me, Firefly Funhouse was cool. Fiend was cool, but that Wyatt family, Eater of Worlds, I think is going to be one of those things that wrestling looks back on forever. The way we look back on the NWO, the way we look back on DX, the way we look back on the Horsemen, the way there's just certain groups that are just part of wrestling culture forever. And I think he is ingrained, and there's so many cool moments. I just watched the one where, just almost chills, where the Shield and the Wyatt family like go like head to head in the ring for the first time. And they like, Shield comes to the crowd, Wyatt family on the ramp, and then Shield goes to the ring, Wyatt family to the ring, and then Shield in the ring. You know what I mean? And like they get closer and closer. And then of course the Wyatts back away because they're the heels. But it was like, God, this is so perfect. I absolutely loved it.
I watched the segment with the kids. Remember when the kids were singing "The Whole Wide World" to John Cena? Oh my God! It's just Bray gave us so many moments. WWE YouTube is doing an excellent job at putting playlists together. Also, if you have the WWE Network, if you're not in the United States, you can still just search your favorite superstar and you'll get a list. But Peacock has added a Bray Wyatt tab. So if you're watching it on Peacock, you can go into this Bray Wyatt tab and it has some of his greatest matches. Not all of them are on there, but I'm pretty sure they're still building this, or at least somebody needs to add that Hell in a Cell with Roman Reigns, or I will do it myself. Anyways, there's all kinds of Bray Wyatt content to consume out there. I was a fan of all the Brays. Even the last one, I know some people went back and forth with it, but because of what you alluded to earlier, we got that promo, and he said, "This is a side of me you guys have never seen before. I'm just being with him right now." And we never seen Bray speak at himself to us. He always was behind a mask, behind a character. So I would always appreciate that on that last run, we did get him to just talk to us as himself.
Yes.
Oh, I love all the versions of him. But I think that the Wyatt family, and again, the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend holds a very special spot in my heart. I think that both of those will be talked about for years to come, about how much they change the way that we do things.
Yeah, just incredibly talented, and very, very sad to have this as part of the news. But we got the rest of the show to talk about, and we're going to talk about that. One of the things that WWE does so well, and I mentioned this on Twitter as well, but I think it needs to be repeated, is they structure their shows so well. And they definitely don't just throw things together. And you could see it here. I thought this was so brilliantly done, the way they have the 10 bell salute, very heavy, very sad. But then it cuts to, again, Michael Cole, one of the best. And he says, the thing about Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt is they wanted nothing but to entertain you. And that's what we are going to do. And as we kick things off with Rey Mysterio. And I think I know it's not an accident that they transitioned from this heavy thing, reminding us that today it's about entertainment and celebration, and then bringing out one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time to put a smile back on our faces. And of course, he's beating a guy that us internet fans, we love, because we all love the jerks. But from a story standpoint, someone we would love to see this good guy beat up. And that's exactly what we got. And I think WWE just nailed this.
1000% they did. They picked the exact right match to start with, the great result. It was actually quite an entertaining match. They went back and forth. The back and forth was great. They wrestled, I believe, so they're starting to get really good with the in-ring chemistry. We didn't give a mic to Grayson Waller. We just let him go out there, be a heel that needed to get beat up for our entertaining and to kind of help us sign up the mood. Wrestling has always been one of the reasons, and I know that Bray also posted like a nice little note. I reposted it today about what wrestling means and how it gives us hope. And I have always told people that for me, wrestling is an escape. I escape all of reality, those 2-3 hours that I'm watching wrestling. So I'm glad that while it was a tough day for all of us, they still say, hey, let's do what we do better, distract, entertain, and give you some enjoyment. And I did think that starting the show with this match after such an emotional and heavy moment was the right decision.
Yeah, I remember it takes me back to, for a long time when I was younger, I didn't know about like when I was younger, like Owen Hart died, and I remember thinking they should have just ended the show. And like certain things happened. I'm not gonna say what they should have or shouldn't have done then, but now I remember when COVID first started, and it was this weird, scary time. And AEW, I think, was the first show that at least I watched without fans after everything shut down. And I remember as weird as it was, I was like, this is an escape I still needed, and how
Oh,
powerful it was.
1000%.
And I think that was this
1000%.
today. Like, I'm sure it wasn't easy for them to go out there and mourn their friend, but then also, by the way, go work, you know? But they did exactly what they should have. And this was just a fun, feel good match. And I think both guys did great. Of course, Theory came out, Escobar was out there to keep storylines going. But for the most part, just a fun.
It was just entertainment, but they still teased the fact, hey, the United States title. Did you even notice that Ray didn't even come out with the title? That's how you could tell this was an exhibition match. He's just here to help people forget about the world right now. I love that you brought that up because I always tell people, by the way, that I lost a lot of things throughout the pandemic. Things got weird, but the one thing that I didn't lose is wrestling. And whether people want to criticize it for being good or bad, it was there in a time where everybody bailed out on us. Football bailed out on us. Basketball, baseball, everybody bounced. But wrestling kept going for us. And my God, did we need it at that time. And to pay homage to Bray again, some of the greatest cinematographic matches that we got were provided to us by him. So look at that. That Firefly Inferno match. I posted a clip, 2 photos about how that was one of the most visually crazy things we've seen on wrestling with Randy Orton RKOing him while he's on fire. Like it's insane. But yeah, wrestling
Randy Orton
always
killed a guy.
Randy killed a guy. No, but he actually really did.
That escalated really fast.
But the visual that was crazy when he freaking lights the whole thing on fire, something we would have not gone away with doing without, the Thunderdome era. We're going off topic here, but just to bring it back to Bray, because it's crazy how many things he brought out of that era that were so good and work with that character. I don't know that John Cena against The Fiend would have been as good at a real WrestleMania as the Firefly Funhouse match was. I'm just going to throw that out there. So...
No, you're right. And the thing, again, I think that's just what's so great about Bray Wyatt is, and that's where I think you could see a lot of different people during that era. Some are like, well, no, this is how wrestling is, where I think Bray Wyatt said, oh, no, this just opened everything up.
Yeah, this is like, we got the whole world in our hands, he said.
Whole world. Why can't you light me on fire? They won't see that we switch it. They won't know,
maybe if we get a Bray Wyatt documentary, we'll see the behind the scenes of the shooting of that. Because that had to be maddening. I know that there was some rumors about how many times it took to shoot some of the things because they will have to get out of the way, put the fire out. Like, I would love to see a behind the scenes on how they made that, and did anybody get burned? Like, at least a tiny burn somewhere. It must have happened.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Bray Wyatt documentary, but side note, I'd love to see some positive wrestling documentaries, ones that end with happy endings. Why are they all sad? There's good stories in wrestling too, Ricky Zaldivar, by the way, had a chat I wanted to highlight here. Says Bray Wyatt should go in the Hall of Fame next year. I would be shocked if he doesn't. Yeah. That would be
emotional though.
Oh, it's going to be so emotional. His dad probably inducting him.
Yeah, and you have to have JoJo and the babies come out and accept.
Oh my God, I'll lose my mind. I'll be a baby if that happens. Justine says, Jack and Issa, I'm sad and heartbroken. In my opinion, no one can replace Bray Wyatt.
He's a once in a lifetime kind of performer, but again, smile because it happened. Smile because we had him. I know that's hard to say because I'm even the person that's having a hard time dealing with the fact that we won't get any more from him. But I posted it on Twitter today. Everybody knows that how I got started was by posting wrestling reactions. And Bray Wyatt is a person that I love doing reactions for because he gave us those moments that we all live for. That's I owe a lot of what I do to him because he is somebody that I just always loved, enjoy reacting to because he knew he got it. He understood, and those are the kind of moments that you wait for and you live for. So it's I get it, but just smile because it happened. Because when I try to think about the positive side of what we got with Bray, man, I'm so thankful that I was here for the entire run and the entire craziness and rides that he took us on.
This is going to be kind of weird, but I always say there's this thing with science where energy, now you can't create or destroy energy. It's always just spreading and changing. And so I like to think that Bray Wyatt's energy isn't gone. It's just now spread out through everybody. And we're going to see future generations that are inspired by him. And we're going to see little bits of Bray Wyatt in wrestlers throughout the world over the coming years. And it'll just be something that we'll get to enjoy. And it'll be really cool to see, just like we've seen Shawn Michaels super kicks take over everything. And, we've seen NWO and the Bullet Club. And
bring the spider walks and the Sister Abigail's, please.
Yes. And so I think he's changed, but he's not gone. We're going to see a lot more of him, I think, just in different ways, if that makes sense. Io Sky has a match with Zelina Vega for the title. Io Sky gets the win. But what I loved about this is, one, Zelina Vega is getting TV time, and I think that's always good. Io Sky is getting TV time. That's always good. But I like that they gave us a reason, that they've highlighted, hey, Zelina Vega beat her twice. She should get a title shot. Any thoughts on this part?
Yeah, it made perfect sense that Zelina will get the title shot here. I was surprised they still did the match. And I'm glad that they did. I love Zelina with the big Bray in her arm. We saw Bailey come out with Bray on her arm thingy. So we saw the little everybody paying homage. I thought that Zelina looked great in this match. But the thing with Zelina is that she has been looking great every time she steps foot into the ring. She's on a upward right now. Of her in-ring has improved so much. But she keeps taking L's, and that is going to start affecting her at one point or another. Now, her being an undersized competitor, you would always are going to root for her and maybe not be shocked that she takes the loss. But I would love to see her, because she had that huge moment of Backlash, and I don't know that we ever capitalized from it outside of giving her more TV time. I would love to see for Zelina to have another huge moment like when she won Queen of the Ring, just something, because she would eventually start losing momentum if you keep just bringing her out to lose.
Yeah, I always say it's my buddy Evan actually coined this. I'm stealing it from him, but it's like the Dolph Ziggler rule. Dolph Ziggler's fantastic, great, everything, checks every box, but he loses every time. So at some point, I'm just not going to buy into him. And I think Zelina's got to be careful about that. And I'd love to see them have her have a few rivalries with some kind of easy wins, with all due respect, like Natty, Natalia, like she doesn't win very often, but she's a legend. So it's okay. Have her maybe beat Emma, have her beat some people that she can get some wins over and get moving a little bit and then get up to that championship category. Cause it feels like she gets hot and then they go title match, but she's not ready to win. So she loses. Title match, but she's going to lose. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get some of that momentum built up. So when she gets
at least for her size, her title matches are being competitive. I thought she was extremely competitive against Rhea at Backlash, and she had a lot of action. There was I would dare say she dominated for the majority of this match until the match went to the outside and Io slammed her against the steel steps, and that's when she lost her way here. I will say, and I'm going to nitpick on commentary here, because when Zelina came out, and maybe I'm just being biased, I might know Zelina, so I got to stick up for my girl. But commentary was just so random about the headset. They were like, she just get done streaming. Oh, I think that's an anime thing or something. And it's just like, everybody that knows Zelina knows what she's about. Why not put over the fact that she does stream? She has a very successful Twitch channel. You could have put over the fact that her and Dakota Kai are about to start a podcast. And you could have done so much with the fact that she's trying to mix in her outside of WWE personality with her WWE thing. So yeah, that's nitpicking, but I hated the way they reacted towards the fact that she was wearing "says me" with the cat ears. Yeah. You see why that will bother me.
Yes. Not only are you guys friends, but it felt like a personal attack against you there.
I'm like, what's wrong with streamers, man?
But no, I will say this may be in the weeds a little bit, but on commentary, if one person doesn't get it, the other person needs to at least pretend they do.
Yeah, but otherwise, Corey Graves was like, oh, I think it's an anime thing or something. And he's like, an anime thing or something? She's actually pretty huge in that world as well. Like, look it up, bros.
Right, like even if you don't know what it is, you should be like, hey, I think it looks cool. One of you needs to say, I think it looks cool. But when both of them are like, all three of them are like, I don't know what that weird thing is, then it just makes it seem like, yeah, what is that weird thing? But if one of them at least goes, no, it looks cool, it's a style thing, you wouldn't get it. Then everyone's like, okay, maybe it's a style thing.
Right.
I will say, all due respect, I think based on their age group, I don't think they're plugged into that world, but I can understand why Michael Cole doesn't get it. But
they have Twitter, okay? She tweets a lot about her channel and all this, so come on.
I would pay good money to see Michael Cole on Twitch with those ears on playing games.
Or watching a Zelina Vega stream, reading the chat, not understanding 90% of the references being made in it.
I would pay good money for that, WWE. So just so you know, Steven in the chat, super chat, by the way, says when the Fiend made his entrance at was it SummerSlam?
SummerSlam.
I'm such a bad wrestling host. I was
SummerSlam
like,
2019.
I
I'll
was
never
I was
forget
gonna
it.
say SummerSlam, but then I was like, wait a minute, was it Survivor Series? And then
No,
I
it
got caught.
wasn't. SummerSlam in Toronto. I can give you all the deets, my friend.
Thought the next Undertaker. I know, totally exposed, Jack. I've always said I'm very bad with remembering dates and locations of things. So like,
I find myself that I am too, but not when it comes to my favorites. Like if you give me some Roman Reigns 101, I'm gonna get it right. Like Bray Wyatt, I'm gonna get it right. You know, there's some people that I just remember everything.
Yeah.
This one I particularly remember because I posted about it today as well. It's one of my most viewed videos on my channel. It was I had a viewing group watching that SummerSlam. So I had the theater room in my apartment complex at the time, and I had like 10 people there. But what makes it funny is that he has, I don't know how many thousands of views he has, but we turned the lights off because remember how he comes off with the lights off?
Yeah.
And like 100,000 people still watch the video just to hear what we were saying as the Phoenix making his entrance because we're all so shocked. But I was like,
Yeah.
how is one of my most viewed a video that's completely in the dark the entire time?
Like I'm kind of offended that you like the video that you can't see me in.
No, but like when I go back and watch it myself, I listen because you can hear like everybody react as things get revealed. Like when we see the head in the lantern, like that was such an iconic moment. That will live in my head rent free forever.
The I like my favorite match of all time. One of them I always flip flop, but one of them is Hogan versus The Rock. I know it was WrestleMania. I could not tell you which one or where it was to save my life. I could guess. I know that's my favorite one. I know it's WrestleMania. I couldn't tell you the number or the location.
Actually, I might not know. Is it a 17? I think it's 17. X7, whatever they called it. I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it was later than that.
Was
it?
Was like I don't 22. Even know. Oh,
I don't know.
See, but you're mentioning two that are not my favorites. I couldn't tell you this.
But see, that's what I mean. Like,
I gotta look it up.
People are like, Jack, you should.
No, I gotta look it up.
Wrestling.
Oh, no, it was 18. It was 18. Okay, it was close enough.
Was it 18? It was that long ago?
I just googled it. We're so old, Jack.
Jeez.
We're so old we shouldn't know what Selena Vega was wearing on her head tonight.
Yeah, I just yeah, so Brett Murphy said 18. I would have guessed honestly like 23 is what I would have thought it was. See, I'm bad. I'm terrible at that stuff. Justine says, I'm heartbroken. Never got to see Bray Wyatt live. Yeah, that would have been cool to see him live. I wish we got another WrestleMania with him because his WrestleMania.
He did WrestleMania 32, which was incredible. I posted a video of my POV. I know he came out just for that segment with The Rock, but what was impressive was that you didn't even need the stadium lights. When they turned the lights up for the Wyatt family coming out and all the Fireflies like turned their cell phones on, the whole stadium was lit up. I also posted the one from WrestleMania 33. That's when he had that weird cockroach match in the ring with Randy Orton, but he came out as the champion. That was another one that was like, I recorded his entrance every single time I saw him live. I was always so mind blown by the effect of everybody shining up their phones, and I can't help but to think that entrance was cool either way. Like if you even think about it, let's say fans didn't get behind him, just the visual of the entire stadium off and just seeing the lantern come down on its own would be cool. But the fact that the fans said, no, we're gonna, light up the way for you. Like I was taking a trip down memory lane on my phone of all the times that I saw him live, and I realized I was like, well, A, I'm lucky that I got to see him live as much as I did, and B, my God, I recorded that entrance every single time. I think I had like 20 Bray Wyatt entrances on my phone.
They're so cool though. They're so good. And Jane Young, by the way, thank you so much for the super chat. If I don't see a comment from you, just keep posting. I'll make sure to read it for sure. Epic Games says his presence will always be felt. And then Killer a Demon says, just wanted to say I cried last night over Bray, and then my brother who passed 3 years ago, and Daphne, whose 2-year anniversary of her death is next Friday. Very, very rough time. Sorry to hear that, KOD. But thank you for spending your time with us, and hopefully we can make you feel better for a little bit. Sorta Rican says,
Sorta Rican?
That's a great name. Says Olaf from New Jersey. A sad couple of passings. Bray Wyatt could track and follow the extreme wrestling route back to Terry Funk, Mick Foley, even see influences of Taker of Funk. Lots of Terry Funk, absolutely incredibly influential. And in fact, that leads us to our next spot. Cody Rhodes comes out and he talks about Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, and he says that they earn the right to be called cowboys, which I thought was so cool. Then he talked about how he gave so many people the rub, including an entire company, I think alluding to ECW. And then we get another great video package.
So good.
Yeah, tell me about the video package, Issa. I know we talked a bit about Terry Funk already earlier this week, but just any other things you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say, and maybe I need to look this up, but is Terry Funk the OG of wrestlers going to Hollywood? I know he came back. I know he never left us. But if you really go back and think, is Terry Funk the OG of wrestlers being snatched up by Hollywood? Think about it. That's how I remember knowing Terry Funk first was through the movies, then through wrestling. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know.
Before The Rock. Before John Cena, there was Terry Funk, baby.
Was Hogan? When was Hogan's first movie?
The Gremlins. Come on. Okay.
But yeah, it's so funny.
Actually, that is actually for real the first time I ever saw Hogan was in Gremlins too. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, he had a segment where he's at the movie theater and the Gremlins are like taking over the movie theater and he gets all mad about it. Yeah.
Thank you, MDB999. I think you just say that because I say your name fully every time I say your name. But yeah, Max Feldman saying he was in Roadhouse. I love him in Roadhouse. But it's funny enough, randomly, I actually watched Over the Top just a few months ago, and I was like, I forgot he was in it, and I was like, hey, Terry Funk's in this
sometimes he'll show up in a movie that you're like, wait, Terry Funk was in there? But you know what my favorite thing about this segment was? Going back to Cody, was his story that he said that he told when he was little, he heard somebody call his dad an egg-sucking dog. And he thought a fight was about to break down, and then he realized it was Terry Funk calling him that. Always love hearing those kind of stories. How cool must have been to be Cody Rhodes and grow up in that kind of, of environment. It had to be the coolest.
I think, we just saw Young Rock. I bet you could do a young Cody and have a lot of funny, interesting stories that came out of that for sure.
All right, sure.
One of my favorite things, I was a big ECW fan back in the day, and of course Terry Funk was instrumental in that. And something that got me a little emotional back when ECW was closing is one of the last shows they did, maybe the last show, they did a video package of the history of ECW, and they did Rage Against the Machine song Renegades of Funk, and I was like, what a perfect song for them to use. And one last thing real quick about Over the Top. This is just a fun little thing for anyone who's ever watched it. The main character, Sylvester Stallone, his name is Lincoln Hawk.
Yeah.
What a cool name. His son is named Mike, which I didn't realize till my friend mentioned it, but that means his son's name was Mike Cock.
Yeah.
And it cracks me up.
Has anybody seen a Mike Cock?
And it made me laugh so hard every time I think about it.
God, Jack.
Anyways, this is a heavy series.
We're grown-ups. We're grown-ups. Anything that could bring a laugh right now is actually greatly appreciated. Yeah. So thank you for that.
So look it up. That's his name in the movie.
My God.
And they never make the joke once. Like no one caught it.
What a wasted opportunity, man.
So another fantastic package. And again, Terry Funk, incredibly just giving to pro wrestling. But again, WWE does so well, this very heavy, very sad moment. And you could even see Cody says, you can see a smile on Cody's face when he introduces the Terry Funk hardcore tag team match. And there's actually there's a little moment here. And I love Cody, but I'm going to call him out a little bit. He has a genuine smile when he says it. There's just a little flash of a real genuine, like he's just really happy to get to introduce this. And again, we take this serious moment and they bring us right back up in a way that feels natural by like, oh, cool.
Yeah, not only did he do the genuine smile, but the camera for 1 second caught him marking out a little bit, going, yes, and I was like, yeah, it's like, let's go. Like, he got me all like, let's do this,
Yeah, it was just very, very well done. And Terry Funk hardcore tag team match, Brawl and Brutes versus Street Profits. Basically, it falls apart when Bobby Lashley comes out and a table comes out, and then Bobby Lashley spears
Bobby.
who did which one he speared one of them, and then the other one of the Brawling Brutes, and then Street Profits got the win. Probably should have written that down. But Street Profits get the win. They're marching on. I have a little complaint, if I can give a complaint here.
Let's see if it's the same complaint I have. You go first.
I love the Street Profits.
Okay.
Love the Street Profits. If Bobby Lashley didn't come out, I would have no idea they were a new attitude, new group team. They seem like the exact same Street Profits.
Their gear changed a little bit.
But they change gear every couple weeks.
Yeah, but not like this gear. But I completely agree with your point. I actually, that wasn't my complaint. My complaint is that this match was more tag team, less hardcore. Just one table came out, and when you're like paying homage to Terry Funk, it would have been nice for them to say, "Hey, it's a tornado tag team dedicated to Terry Funk." Then maybe, you know what I mean? Because all we saw was a table. But I'm not here to nitpick. I think everybody had a big role tonight to entertain while they're all suffering, a loss of a coworker. So I'm not going to get nitpicky. But when you point that out now I'm not going to be able to unsee it, right? I need this. You're right. I need the Street Profits to change their attitude. And if Bobby doesn't come out, do you realize that they're a different team now that they turn heel? You don't. They worked a little bit heelish in the match, but not evil enough for you to go like, oh, the Street Profits are not messing around anymore. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you on this one.
Wow.
What is happening to us?
Times are changing. Now that said, I like the Street Profits. If they don't change, I'm okay with it. I'm just saying, again, I wanted to give something.
That fork can fly, and that is not a heel move. That's so babyface of him.
Yes. I mean, come on. He's gonna be a world champ someday. So I got to get my little nitpicks
that he's gonna do his high flying move and then not do it because that's a heel thing.
Yeah, could you imagine he gets up there, he's like, "Are you ready?" And cheers, and he just crawls back down.
That would be that's what they need to do, though. That's what you're saying. They're not doing enough heelish things. That would be something.
Yeah, it's I like him. If Bobby Lashley never came out and I didn't hear commentary, I wouldn't know they were different other than the outfits.
Agree 100%.
But it's fine. Also, I don't know if today's the day they really needed to lean into it. So maybe
I'm not trying to nitpick or anything. Like some of the things that we're bringing up are just because it's our job to sit here and talk about what went on in the show. But tonight's show to me was a 10 out of 10, and whatever wasn't on point gets a pass.
Yeah, otherwise, because like I said, that's how I felt about the hardcore thing. Is it was kind of like,
more tag team, less hardcore.
Fun. It's fun. Who cares? We don't need to get too far into it. But we get The Miz talking to TMZ before
it wasn't staged at all, Jack.
This was supernatural, right?
Yeah. They found him.
Do you so this was clearly fake, but do you like how they do this? I think it's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I did. My favorite thing was when they were like, "Oh, what's with your feud with this LA Knight guy?" And the Miz was like, "You know who he is?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, you know who he is."
Why don't you
the Miz acted like all of us that are hardcore wrestling fans when somebody that we don't watch wrestling knows who we're talking about, because that happens to me all the time. If I make a wrestling reference to an outsider and they know what I'm talking about, I go, "Wait, do you know what I'm talking about?"
It is funny because there is that when someone does talk to you about wrestling, you have to have that little bit of conversation, gauge how into wrestling they are.
Right. You know what I mean? Can I go full mark here, or do I need to scale it down a little bit? I can't even use terms. Can I use my wrestling terms with you? No, you're not there yet.
Yeah, because that's what will happen is I'll be like, I'll get really into it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well I haven't really watched since The Rock and stuff," and I'm like,
when they hit you with the Stone Cold still wrestles. That's my favorite one.
Is Hulkamania still running wild? He's still doing his thing?
Undertaker still doing it?
And you're like,
I used to be so scared of him, and you're like, "Oh no,
never mind." But then sometimes they'll hit you with something like, "Oh sweet, we can really talk pro wrestling here." But then I'm like, I cover pro wrestling, and they're like,
right.
I don't care. But we get LA Knight and Finn Balor. LA Knight cuts a promo that I thought was just beautifully done, and great way to do what he needed to do, but then also say some nice things. LA Knight gets the win. Finn Balor loses. Issa, I think if this was any other show, I'd be like, Finn Balor's taking too many L's, but this is not this didn't matter.
This was they put together two of Bray's the last known rival to Bray against somebody that we all know Bray had a lot of back and forth with Finn. I got the chills when LA and I walked off straight to the camera and did the run. I was like, oh, yeah, like let's freaking go. And respect to LA for cutting such a respectable promo, such a good promo on Bray. Never broke character. He said, I'm not going to pretend we're best friends. They left in really messed up terms. I don't expect LA Knight to come out there and start crying. I would, and if he did, I would respect that because we're not worrying about storylines here. But the way he was able to pay that homage to Bray without breaking character, I feel like Bray somewhere is so proud clapping. And the run just really sent me great match between these two. But yeah, agreed. LA Knight lost all of his matches. The pitch black and all the house shows like route that they did after that, LA Knight lost. So it was good to see LA Knight winning here. I like that. I didn't think storylines going into this. I just thought two of Bray's opponents, long-term opponents going at it to pay homage to the man. Let's do it.
Yeah, I nothing but good things there. Kind of give a little shout out to his old pal Damian Sando as well. I know they've worked.
He said when you had oh my god, that he destroyed the Miz tonight though.
Miz and LA Knight are perfect rivals. They're
meant for each other on the mic.
So good. But I want to talk about the end here. And this, right as we thought that the heartache was over, the lights go out, the lantern in the middle of the ring. Issa, just a beautiful way to end the show.
Absolutely incredible. There was a part of me, and I don't know if you feared this, and I'll say it, but I was like, do not put the lantern out. If they put the lantern out, I will not make it to Wrestling Inc. because I'll spend the rest of the night crying. Like, do not put the freaking lantern out. But the homage was beautiful. The lantern needs to keep shining forever. It was when we saw the share on the opening was emotional, but seeing this, I don't know. It felt surreal. Again, I'm glad the lantern was not put out. And this was a very memorable way to remember Bray. This is, how they're going to pay homage and how they were going to close a show dedicated to him. It was beautiful. It was very well done. Very well done. The visual of him, the lantern, and the fireflies throughout the arenas and the stadium is how I would love to remember Bray. So I love that that's how we went off the air. Like,
And I love that they gave us time to sit in that moment too. And again, it goes to I know I'm talking about WWE production stuff a lot, but I think it's you've worked at wrestling shows, and production is like a very underrated part of the show. And it's my
favorite part to learn. I don't know if you're experiencing that now that you get to kind of hang out backstage and all that, but my God, it's so complicated and crazy what they have to deal with back there.
I get to sit in the truck sometimes and like get to watch them actually, like the director do the camera 3, camera 4, you zoom in, and David Marquez is who I work with. He used to run NWA, now he works Championship Wrestling. Anyways, like it is such a confusing and difficult thing, like having to get a camera in the right spot while you're holding on one spot, but then you're trying to predict where the match is going. So it's insane, but that means someone had the thing about the lantern. What I always like to pull back is like someone had to decide: do we blow it out? Do we leave it open? Like, what do we put in the thing? What's the shot? How much time do we give it? And like, these are all things they have to figure out. And I think that they found a way to absolutely nail it. I think they just nailed it.
Yeah, I also feel like I don't know who made the decision. Like I told you, I'm glad the lantern was not put out. I also feel like if it would have put out, it would have not been the wrong decision, right? I just don't know that I could have composed myself afterwards. You know what I mean? If they put the lantern on, it's the best way to explain it. I feel it was emotional in two different ways, but I do think that if they put it out, you just bring heartache to where not putting it out brings celebration of Bray's life and the celebration that it will continue in our memories, and like the whole thing about if we can go back and remember him, we can go back and watch him, but I think that it's a very difficult decision to make, because what decision do you make? I don't know that either one is the wrong decision to make. They both represent this, the respect for Bray. But I'm telling you, they would have put that lantern out. I really don't know if I would have been able to compose myself. So I'm glad that that's not the choice that they went with. because yeah, that's all I remember. And I was just talking about it. I recorded every entrance because it was just so mind blowing to see him walk down and being light up, you know. And I told you how much I love the Firefly Funhouse. I always light the way. All you have to do is let me in. Like, that is such an iconic part of who he was. It was so well done. And I don't know. I watched wrestling on and off my entire life, but I've been watching it nonstop since 2014. I don't know WWE without Bray, except for that short period of time where he was released, which wasn't even that long. It's
Mhm.
gonna be very weird for me moving forward without that part.
Yeah, with Bray Wyatt around, it felt like there was always something bigger and deeper happening, and I think that's something that no one person can change. I think we're going to feel that for a long time. I do want to throw this Puerto Rican answer the question. Maybe earliest wrestler in a film was Tor Johnson. I don't know what
Oh,
movie
nice.
Tor was in, but
But there's a lot of them that been in one movie. Terry Funk was in a bunch of movies.
yeah, he was
That's
always a
what I mean.
bouncer.
I feel like Hollywood tried to snatch him, but he kept coming back to wrestling. Lucky for us, right? But I feel
Right.
he's the first one that they really tried to snatch full time.
I don't think you could have taken Terry away from
No.
pro wrestling. I don't think there's anything they could have offered him. I think he was
No.
just born to be on the road, be like branding people with tire or with the cattle iron, whatever you call those things that he's always,
Yeah.
that thing he always carried
The
around.
thing.
The brand thing.
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys that was just crazy. He was I don't know, like I've never met him, but just you see him cut his promos, and he seemed like someone who he always reminded me of that guy that, like, if you were at the bar and he started getting loud, you'd be like, man, we better get out of here because this guy's gonna beat somebody up, and I don't want
Yeah.
to see me. But that, I think, does it for this show. As we wrap everything up, Issa, where can the world find you online? And any thoughts on the show? And while you do that, I also want to let everyone in the chat know, like, comment, share, subscribe. But if you're watching, whether now or later, leave a little comment with maybe some of your favorite Bray Wyatt moments or things that casual wrestling fans say to you that let you know they don't really watch a lot of wrestling. That'll be a fun one.
Stone Cold still wrestle? Yeah, you guys can find me NYC Demon Diva throughout all of my socials. Also on YouTube, NYC Demon Diva. I do watch along for a lot of shows. I will be going live on Sunday. I am hoping that we are able to do what we do and allow All In to distract us and entertain us and bring us some joy in a kind of like a tough week. You guys can also find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I believe Jack and I get to reunite again on Sunday to talk about All In. I might be a little intoxicated, so that should be fun. And yeah, it was, I thought overall it was a great show. I told you guys I put Bray Wyatt up there in my top 5 of all-time favorites. And I did think that the respect was paid tonight, and it would eventually sink in. I mean, I'm going through a weird grieving stage with Bray, but I guess all that I have to say is what we said earlier. I'm so happy that I was here throughout his run, and I'm so glad that we got so many iconic moments that I will continue to remember very, very fondly. And I'm hoping that he's somewhere up there with Brody, catching up and preparing for a great match with Terry Funk at some point.
Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes.
Yep. Oh man, I would like to see that.
But yeah, you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. Again, thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If you want, on my Twitter, if you can find it, maybe I'll retweet it. But I had ChatGPT create a tournament of the most unbeatable pro wrestlers, and to find out who
I gotta go see
the
that.
most unbeatable wrestler is of all time. I said the rule was it's when they're at their peak, they're most unbeatable. So it's Hulkamania, it's Hulk during Hulkamania, it's John Cena during Super Cena time, it's Bruno Sammartino when he was in the middle of his run, Goldberg during the streak, Undertaker at WrestleMania, the hardest to beat. Who wins number 1? So you can check that out. But Sunday, All In, me, Issa, and we've got newcomer Flobo Boyce joining us, a good friend of mine. Let's all bully him after the show.
Yes. I mean,
It's-
you're all cool now. Me and Jack are friends. You're not a friend no more.
yeah, we're going to go. He's the Roderick Strong. You and I are the MJF and Adam Cole.
That's terrible, actually.
I'm going to tell him to come on with a neck brace. But yeah, we're going to be on the All In after show. So make sure to tune in and check that out. That'll be a super fun one. But in